Am I the a-hole for abandoning my daughter when she was still a child? Hi Reddit. I'm here to ask for your judgment on a deeply personal matter that I've kept buried for little more than a decade. Some context is needed, so this might be a long one. Please bear with me. I, 45F, am a lawyer working for one of the most prestigious firms in Tokyo. I've built my career from the ground up, relying on my intelligence, discipline, and drive for perfection. My colleagues know me as someone who never lets emotions get in the way of logic and professionalism. They respect my work ethic, but most of them would describe me as cold. That's fine with me. I've never been one to prioritize warmth or emotional connections. But there's one thing I've hidden from almost everyone in my life. I have a daughter, named Kyoko, now 17 years old. I was born into a respectable, upper-middle-class family. My parents were both professors and highly respected in their fields. My existence was not planned. My mother had me at 41 after a mishap with early contraceptives. I was not unwanted, but I was an inconvenience, a complication they did not foresee. Growing up, my parents were very strict with me. My life consisted of studying and prepping for exams. For them, it was important that I made great academic achievements. I was fine with this. Ever since I was a little girl, I always preferred to read non-fiction books instead of playing outside. Because of my inability to understand or even relate to my peers, I always had a hard time making friends. In high school, they always asked me why I was mad at them, because of my frown. But really, I was just deep in thought. I wasn't angry at them. My aloofness and cold personality made it hard for me to connect with them. So, they stayed clear of me. I was never bullied, but also nobody ever made the effort to get to know me. Then something unexpected happened. In high school, my mother fell seriously ill and passed away. Not long after, my father died of a heart attack. This made me an orphan by the time I graduated. Their sudden deaths were very sad for me, but I also knew that if I wanted to honor them, I had to excel in my studies. And so, I went on and studied at one of the most elite universities and graduated with honor. After that, I've dedicated myself to practicing and studying the law. At 28, I was working my way up at one of the most prestigious law firms in Kyoto, and everything was going great. I was assigned to a high-profile case that would define my reputation. It was a culmination of years of effort, and I was ready. Around the same time, I also met Kazuchi Misonoi. He was unlike anyone I'd ever known. He was carefree, and he had a very likable personality. At first, I was suspicious. Why he would want to date me, someone that's the complete opposite of him. But he had a gift for disarming me. He was kind, attentive, and very perceptive in ways no one had been before. He always made me feel seen and heard. For the first time in my life, I had someone that wanted to know how my day was and that reassured me whenever I was feeling insecure. It's embarrassing to admit, but I fell hard, and I gave myself completely to him. And even after everything that went down, I still believe in my heart of hearts that the feelings were mutual, that he had loved me too. But the betrayal was truly devastating. He had been a corporate spy, hired by the opposing party, so they could get their hands on the crucial evidence we had on a hard drive. He had approached me solely with the purpose of getting information out of me, and at the end, stealing the hard drive on which our whole case was based on. I don't believe it was his intent to fall in love with me or to make me fall for him. I think we were both caught off guard by these intense but real emotions. But in the end, these feelings didn't stop him from completing his mission or from disappearing from my life. It left me completely devastated. I don't even know if Kazuchi Misonoi is his real name or an alias he used. It shook me to my core that I had trusted someone so easily, in such a short time, just because it seemed that he was able to understand me and see me for who really I was. How could I have been such a naive fool, blindly trusting a stranger? To make matters worse, after months of neglecting my physical health, I finally went to the doctor, only to find out I was pregnant. But by then it was already too late to terminate the pregnancy, so I had no choice but to keep the baby and do my best in raising it. But my whole life has always been about my academic pursuits and my career. My life has always been structured around these goals. They made my day-to-day very predictable, which I now realize that I find comfort in knowing what to expect. But suddenly I was going to be a mother, something that I never gave thought to. I was never one of those little girls that dreamed of creating a family of my own. As I said before, my focus was always on my academics and later on my career. But now I had this little human, this baby that I was responsible of. I was all on my own, and I had no one to show me how it was done. I read every book on caring for babies I could find, but none of them were able to truly prepare me for becoming a mother. So I signed myself up for mommy classes, and during one of these classes I met Yayoi Fuwa, who turned out to be the sister of my boss. She and her husband owned a chain of ryokans. These are traditional Japanese inns. Yayoi told me that, not more. Then a week after giving birth, she had to start working in the ryokan again. She didn't have the luxury of having months of maternity leave, nor did she want to take that time off. Her pride and joy were in being the boss lady of the ryokun. So she already hired a nanny that was going to take care of her son. She told me that she saw a kindred spirit in me and that I needed to go back to work as soon as possible. So she offered that my daughter could stay with their nanny and her son while I was working. I gladly took her up on this offer, and 3 weeks after I gave birth, I was back working full-time. This whole scandal and the pregnancy set me back, and I had to work very hard so that my boss could trust me with cases again. There was no room for error anymore. It wasn't easy balancing my work life with raising my daughter, Kyoko. Even with the help of Yayoi Fuwa, I still had a very hard time. From sleepless nights when she was a baby because she kept on crying, to getting the flu every couple of months because some kid at her school infected her. I realized very early on that I don't have a nurturing bone in my body. I do love her, but I just don't know how to show it. I was always impatient and stressed with her. The older she got, the more she resembled Kazuchi. She too has this friendly and expressive way about her. She was always talking about fairies and princes, and I just couldn't relate to her. When Kyoko was 6, I was offered a position at a prestigious law firm in Tokyo. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, but it required me to relocate to Tokyo permanently. I truly felt that I was being rewarded after all my hard work. The only dilemma was whether I should take Kyoko with me or not. In the end, I decided to leave Kyoko in the care of the Fuwas. I thought that leaving Kyoko in the care of the Fuwas was truly the best thing for her. Her school, her friends, her life. It was all in Kyoto, and uprooting her from all of this wouldn't be good for her. Yayoi Fuwa could give the care and nurturing that I couldn't give to her. So I decided to move to Tokyo by myself and leave Kyoko behind. Fast forward to today. Kyoko is now 16, and I've recently discovered that she has been living in Tokyo on her own for over a year now. The agency that is representing her contacted me to get my permission for her to be working in the entertainment industry. Of course I gave them my permission. If this is what she wants to do, I'm not going to stand in her way. I also feel that I don't have a right to judge whether it is wrong or right for her. Afterwards, I called Yayoi Fuwa for an explanation, and she apologized immediately for not informing me about this and told me she was too embarrassed to say anything. Because her son, Sho, had eloped together with Kyoko to Tokyo. She hadn't told the police because she was afraid that it would negatively impact the ryokan. She told me that she recently been in contact with her son and that he told her that he and Kyoko were no longer in contact with each other. I am utterly shocked by all of this. I thought that the Fuwas would be a safe haven for her, but instead their son, influenced her to up and leave her whole life? What if she's somewhere here in Tokyo being a single mom with no education, now trying to make it in the entertainment industry? This whole ordeal has made me question if leaving her with the Fuwas was the right move. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for abandoning my daughter when she was still a child? Edit 1. I see a lot of people asking about why the Fuwas would take care of a child that was not theirs. Well, first of all, Yayoi Fuwa had hinted to me that it was her wish for Kyoko to learn from her so that she could one day run the Ryokun. Secondly, I did send money to the Fuwas to provide for her care and education. I might not have been able to give her the emotional support she needed, but I would never shrink from my duties as her guardian. Yayoi had told me that she saw Kyoko like her own daughter. I had prepared myself for one day getting the inevitable question if they could officially adopt her. But I never received that request. Yayoi did tell me in our last telephone conversation that she and her husband had hoped that her son would marry Kyoko and run the Ryokun together. Well, that will now never happen. Edit 2. Some of you have pointed out that my decision might have been influenced by my own upbringing. That is a fair point. As I said in the post, I was a surprise for my parents. They were already in their 40s and had chosen to be child-free. My mother told me that after months of feeling unwell, she finally went to the doctor because she thought she was going through menopause, only to find out she was pregnant. After this discovery, they decided that they were going to raise me to become an intellectual like them. But I guess somewhere along the way they never showed me how to be nurturing, how to care for someone other than myself. Relevant comments. Comment from Ambitious Woman 62. You did what you thought was best for Kyoko given your circumstances. Being a single parent is incredibly hard, especially without support. You weren't perfect, but you made sure she was cared for. That doesn't make you an a-hole. Comment from Best Mom for Life. You abandoned your daughter because it was inconvenient for your career. You didn't even try to maintain a relationship with her. Sending money doesn't make up for that. Comment from Need to Say. Sorrow X2. Have you ever thought about reaching out to your daughter? I feel that you both have been wounded by not only the trauma and heartbreak you had to go through with your ex, but also by something called generational trauma. I believe that therapy will help both of you deal with all of this in a much healthier way. Update. Hello Reddit. It's been a while since I posted this, and truth be told, I've been very busy at work, so I didn't have time to respond or keep you Redditors updated. Not that there was anything to update you people with. Until very recently. Before I'll explain what happened, I just want to let everyone know that this will be my final update. I'm truly too busy with work, and I don't have a lot of time. Well, on to the update. I actually met Kyoko not too long ago. My friend and colleague Susumu Todo sort of sprung her on me. He's one of the very few people in my life that knows what happened back then and have met Kyoko when she was little. I had asked him to deliver some documents to her that she needed, and he impulsively decided to bring her back to the office. I happened to walk past his car when I saw her sitting in the passenger seat. She asked if we could talk somewhere private, and so we went to a nearby cafe. It was very awkward at first. What do you say to your own daughter that you haven't spoken to for a couple of years? I asked her a little bit about the situation with Sho, and she explained that they were never in that kind of relationship. That apparently, he brought her to Tokyo to be his maid. Although I was glad to hear that she didn't make the same mistake that I once made. I have vowed to myself that if he ever does something that will lead to him needing to be sued, I will oversee this case personally, and I will crucify him on the stand. Although I don't feel that I have any right on commenting on Kyoko's life. It does anger me that he convinced her to drop out of high school and used her as his maid. Men truly are trash. Anyway, it was a very candid, but very needed talk. We talked about her father and what had happened to me. why I couldn't be the mother that she needed growing up, and that I placed her with the Fuwas for her own safety. Afterwards, she told me she was glad to know more about her father and why he wasn't in her life. She had always wondered why, and this conversation made a lot of things clear to her. After that, we parted ways. I will say, for those hoping that we might one day get a close mother-daughter relationship, that will never happen. I truly don't feel that I have the right to call myself her mother, but if she ever needs anything, I will be trying my best to help her. I will be following her career very closely and support her decision of becoming a famous actress. I believe in her and her gift. Edit. I saw a lot of people suggesting that I should go to therapy, and after a lot of reflecting, I think I will be doing that. I don't know if it will help, but I guess it's not a bad idea to talk to a professional about what happened in the past and how it shaped me to who I am today. So I will leave you all on this note. Thank you for your opinions, even the people that called me an a-hole. It has helped me be able to better reflect on my actions from 11 years ago.
Thank you for watching. Up next, Rin Tsuruga's AITA story. So stay tuned. And if you're curious, click on the I Won't Love, I'll Have Revenge Instead playlist.